I want to bring in now our legal editor, Nalini Sharma, for the latest on that. Nalini, this was, of course, that big move that the government had taken 4 years on. I've seen a lot of changes on the ground. But today, do you think it will be more about how did it happen? Can it have a constitutional validity? You tell us in all the hearings that a lot of it was high-tempered as well. What is the decision that will be based on that the court and the bench will be looking at?
Well, Pooja, no doubt a lot has happened since Article 370 was abrogated. But the crucial question before the Supreme Court is, can the end justify the means in which the centre went about this entire exercise? Which is why at the crux of this entire debate before the Supreme Court is the presidential order that was passed on the 5th of August, because the Supreme Court 5 judges are going to be deciding on whether or not that was constitutionally valid. Now, any argument that has been made by the centre during the course of these 16 days of marathon hearings that went on before the Supreme Court, in no way can they prove that what has been achieved through the abrogation of Article 370 justifies the manner in which this was done. So whether or not the procedure in which it was done was constitutionally and legally valid is A, what the Supreme Court will be looking at. B, the Supreme Court will also be interpreting the powers of the Parliament specifically with respect to Jammu and Kashmir itself.
Okay.
Because the centre has interpreted various provisions, brought about an amendment in another article of the Constitution, Article 367, to make this happen. So as to whether or not the centre was even, did it even have the powers to go ahead and do something of the sort that they did, is something that the Supreme Court will be looking at. Let's not forget, it's the 5 senior most judges of the Supreme Court that are going to be considering this matter. We are likely to see exactly how many opinions, whether or not it will be a split verdict or a unanimous verdict. Not speculating on that at this point, but lots to look forward to.
So, of course, when the verdict starts to be read out, we'll, of course, be going live. Do not miss. India Today will be tracking every bit, and the manner in which the verdict will be read out, whether it's split, unanimous, what will be the observations made, what will be the final verdict, all of that we'll be tracking. This is important. It's a big day with regard to Article 370. It's been controversial in the sense the opposition has attacked it. There are netas specifically from Jammu and Kashmir, from the BTP, from the National Conference, who had been gone after the government at the centre, and they had opposed it. They were the ones also to petition it in the Supreme Court. What exactly are those netas saying today? Let's listen in.
इन्होंने तो 370 खत्म करके हिंदुस्तान की जो आईन है उसको तबाह बर्बाद कर दिया है। आईन के मुताबिक तो नहीं चलता है इस वक्त पूरा मुल्क या जम्मू कश्मीर। ये तो आरएसएस के और बीजेपी के जो उनका एजेंडा है, कि जो माइनॉरिटीज है उनको दबाना है, क्योंकि जम्मू कश्मीर एक मुस्लिम मेजॉरिटी स्टेट है, इसलिए हमारे ऊपर ज्यादा से ज्यादा सितम किया जा रहा है। हमें कोई आजादी नहीं है, बात करने की आजादी नहीं है।
और उन्होंने आर्टिकल 370 को लेकर ये कहा कि हमें ये कबूल नहीं है, और जब तक आप आर्टिकल 370 को रिस्टोर नहीं करेंगे हम रुकने वाले नहीं हैं, क्योंकि तुम्हारे पास अब ये खुला मामला हो गया है। अल्लाह करे कि उनके इस जोर से हमारे लोगों को मदद मिले और हमारा ये 370 और 35A रिस्टोर हो।
जहाँ तक नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस का सवाल है, हमने हमेशा कहा है कि इस रियासत की शनाख्त, इस रियासत की खसूसी पोजीशन जो है उसको हम नुकसान होने नहीं देंगे। चाहे सियासी तौर हमें इसका मुकाबला करना पड़े, चाहे कानूनी तौर हमें इन साजिशों का मुकाबला करना पड़े, जो हम वैसे भी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में 35A को बचाने के लिए जो मुकदमा लड़ा जा रहा है उसमें हमारा वकील जो है वो भी काम कर रहा है। तो हम अपनी कोशिशों में कोई कमी या कोई कमजोरी आने नहीं देंगे।
And remember, this has faced elaborate hearings, both from the petitioner's side and also what the government at the centre has given out as their reasoning. There were a lot of questions that were constantly asked by the Chief Justice of India, by the 5-judge bench. That big battle, I want to explain to you here what exactly has happened. Now, according to the petitioner, specifically those opposing the Article 370 abrogation, has said Article 370 was a temporary provision that became permanent. That's what the petitioner said, that it's permanent, it must stay. But that's exactly what the government at the centre had specified and said Article 370 was not meant to be permanent. And one of the reasons here, the reference to the Constituent Assembly. Now, the centre played the role of the Constituent Assembly is what the petitioner is saying. That if the Constituent Assembly had to decide, how did the Parliament or the government of the centre decided to go ahead and play it? But to that, the government of the centre's reasoning has been to the court, well within the power to abrogate the special stand. The petitioner said, no concurrence from the state government was required. The government said no constitutional fraud has been done in annulling the special status. All the due process has been followed by which this decision has been taken. And eventually, with the petitioners adding that the governor cannot dissolve the Legislative Assembly without the Council of Ministers and their discussion and decision. Government at the centre said that the President was in concurrence with the state government and can amend the Constitution, and that is why this decision was taken. But the big point here was that according to petitioners, that the centre's move was not constitutionally permissible. This is what the court will have to focus on and deliver its verdict. The government had clearly said that the merger is necessary for a complete integration that had to happen with India of Jammu and Kashmir, and eventually for all the central laws and policies and schemes to be incorporated in Jammu and Kashmir as well. So that's the big 370 battle that's been on.